Welcome to part 4 of my coverage of making the carriage sheds for the Liverpool Overhead Railway that replaced the original southern terminus at Herculaneum Dock after the Liverpool Overhead was extended through a tunnel to Dingle Station. The Liverpool Overhead Railway converted the site of the old station, the dead end of the old station, the terminus, into carriage sheds, and a junction came away from in front of them and curved around tight, went over a bridge at Herculaneum, over part of the dock, and down to then into a tunnel and to Dingle Station. Now last time I'd got as far as making the roof, and I've changed the corrugated iron texture that I was using to this one because I had a number of issues with the previous one. At the same time, I've also been thinking about how I'm going to use this model, and one of the things that has occurred to me is that although I could make it as a piece of fixed track, and you can see here that I've got the attachment points here for two tracks, and then for the viaduct, I'm tempted more to make it into a scenery item, which will be then just placed in position, and then you've already run tracks with buffers. It's just two tracks with buffers at the end here. Now one of the aspects of this was that if I just go into my photos for Herculaneum Dock Station, here we are, and I'm just going to open with the photo viewer in Windows, and that's the actual. You can see here this is looking north from Herculaneum Dock Station, where the crossover was just beyond the station, heading towards, it's the same view, heading towards the next stop, which is I think Toxteth Dock. I think I'm right there. And here we are coming off that curve into Herculaneum Station, the replacement, the new station. This is the footbridge. And here this is the carriage shed looking back in the other direction, and this is heading over, this train is heading over, and you can just make out the bridge there that will take it into the mouth of the Dingle tunnel, and has quite a few bits of fun doing that. And here's another perspective looking down from Grafton Street, or thereabouts, at the top of the ground above Herculaneum Dock, now sadly all gone, all filled in. It's now a car park and luxury development, luxury housing. Great views over the Mersey, looks fantastic. So here we are. So in front of this behind this sort of Nissen hut style structure here, this is our carriage shed, and this is the part that I've been working on so far, and I'm going to make this part from the parts from this. So there we are. So that's looking at that view down from Grafton Street. That's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing. That's what we're doing, for goodness sake. Okay, so, and last time, as I say, I got the roof done, and the only thing I've got to do really with that, I just want to hide everything else, and I just want to sort out all the other parts of the roof. And you can see there that I extended the corrugated. It's actually it's repeated 8 times along there, but that does mean that we've got the remainder of the roof here, and so what I want to do is select faces. I'm going to do this in wireframes so I can see which faces I'm actually picking up. So here we go. There's 7 faces. I made an awkward situation for myself there. Anyway, so there's the 7 faces. Now I'm going to invert the selection, so I get everything except those, and that's what I've got there. And if I planar that, I want to shrink them down. Basically, I'm not too worried if there's a bit of striping or banding, but I'm going to shrink them down, right down, so they're only over a few pixels, and it doesn't, as far as I'm concerned, if it gives some odd effects, well, not odd, but sort of banding effects inside the roof, that's fine. Let's have a look. Let's turn the grid off. And notice I've got texture correction on. Oh, that looks fine. Yeah, there's a bit of banding there, but what the heck? Who's to know that that isn't how it was? Okay, so let's unhide all. And I'm still working with my original mesh, making copies of that. So I'm going to make another copy because I want to make the front. Now, I'm not too worried about that. You can see there's a gap there, probably either side. I'm going to tidy that up in due course. So let's take, this is our extruded. There we are, you can see it's extruded 100 feet. Well, I'm going to extrude it just 2 inches. There we are. And that's going to form the front of the carriage shed there. So let's just have a look on the sideways view, and I'm going to just correct the pivot so it brings it back to not 100 feet but just 2 inches, and then my aim here is to I can go at 99 11 inches, and I'll just texture that with the planking, and then I need to take away some of these additional polys both on the roof. You can see that the end there is showing through, and on this, because I don't need some of those. So let's just get that sorted out. Where are we? Corrugated vertical planking. That's the one we want. There it is. And let's do unwrap, and don't like that. If it's always, you can see there, if it's at an angle, then the world origin is not quite right. And so you're going to be giving up the ability to alter it as an editable spline or as an extrusion, because what we're going to do is going to reset that. And once that's done, if I then go in to select the face, it should be correct. Yes, there we are. But I can't go back to these here. I can't remove that and restore that. You'll see in a moment. So, planar map it, make sure it's correct. It's far too short, narrow, whatever. It has to be repeated horizontally. The texture, that's far too little. We want it something similar to that. So you can see I've selected the proportional enlarge or reduce, but it's just in the one direction. And let's have a quick look here. A bit more, I think. Sort of, I'm just matching it up by eye a bit more. And I'm not worried that there aren't nice sort of neat bits of wood or whatever finishing it off. I think you can get a bit overtaken by a lot of this. Now I'm going to reduce that to a poly, editable poly, and because it's well inside, let's have a look at it here. Okay, and we want to look at the front, which is up here, and that what I do is I'll hide everything else, and I'm going to remove the unnecessary polys. So let's just keep that as wireframe. Let's put the grid back, and what ones can we take out? Well, let's have a look here. One tip, or one trick, or I don't know whether it's a trick or not, that I've started using is when I'm trying to take away unnecessary polys or select very small elements of a mesh, is to increase it by 1000%, increase the size of it. So I want to keep the internal faces because that's going to be showing, but these ones are hidden by, well, that's hidden by the side wall, this one is hidden by the roof. Just make sure you're picking up the right ones. So as I say, if you're making a very small item, a very small mesh as part of your model, component of your overall mesh, and now if I unhide all of those and let's put the textures back in, I think we're okay there. Remember that the walls had no, they only had the outer and the inner texture. The other one to do, of course, is the roof. So let's hide that and let's come in a bit. Let's go into wireframe and let's collapse that all to a poly. Okay, because I'm just going to scale this up when I come to the, in fact what I'm going to do before I even do that, let's go back. There we are. So I've got an editable mesh. So you're allowed, you know, you can get away with a bit of stepping back, but I've been caught out lots of times where I've deleted something or changed something or collapsed something I shouldn't have done. And you go back and you think, oh, you idiot, why did you do that? So I can take, have I got a polygon there? I don't think I have. I think I've already taken them out. So if you look in here, no, you can't. I don't think I've got a, let's collapse that down. Have I done that? Oh, that's the one I did. So I don't want to do that. Now you see that won't now go further, so I'm going to delete that. I know I've got this as with all the, so I'm going to make it again. Okay, so I'd got the wrong one highlighted. So that's the one that is the actual roof at the moment. Collapse that down and then just have a look at the polys. There we are. That's what I wanted to lose. And just thinking about it, I'm going to leave the other one because that's going to be a little bit more tricky, so I'm going to leave it for the moment. So unhide all. Don't worry that you keep creating extra copies because we're going to I'm going to end up by eliminating everything we don't need. So that gives us that. So that's our first, essentially that's it, that's the first carriage shed. The reason why I'm thinking of making this a scenery item because the poly count, which is already 8,000, and it's going to be more than that yet. And although I'm going to lose a few of those when I collapse this all down, but a scenery item I can put an attachment point and break it down into different elements and load them separate meshes within the config, all centered on a single attachment point. I may show you how I do that. Okay, so let's have a look back here. The sides, I think the sides are pretty much the same height. Looks to me like that, although it's chopped off, I think that is the correct, and it's about the same as there. There looks like to be a bit more detail there, extra posts and pillars. I'm not going to bother about those because there comes a point where you've just got too much detail. You have to go with the overall look of it. So, assuming that this is going to be much the same, this one is the old size, so I'm going to move that over there, and I will need it, and I've got extra width here, so I'm going to have to chop this viaduct section off in a mo, but I've got two grouped pieces here, so I'm going to clone that one, and it's already positioned at 49 feet, so I'm going to put it into, or put it at 50 feet, so I'm going to put it to minus 50 feet, the clone. Bring on the clones, edit, clone, 49 foot 12 inches, where do they get this from? There we are. Let's just have a quick look at the original. I wonder, there's a little bit of extra width there. It's definitely in front of a window, but yeah, it's not centered. That isn't centered over a much bigger. See, you could really do it. If only they'd moved, the cameraman had moved over, round, and so he could look at this side. Well, nothing else, no, nothing else to really. And I have looked on, there's a few videos which show glimpses of it. You remember in the previous video I did show a bit of that, but at the same time, those two uprights, if we zoom in, those two uprights there are viaduct uprights, and they're all in a line, and it looks like there's a bit of width. There must be a bit, it does look like there's a bit of width there. I think there is. So, right, what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to have to chop this bit of these viaduct sides here, both of them, and move them out. Quite how that's going to look, I'm not sure. But what I'm going to do is to see if I can reproduce that look there as a rough idea. So I'm more or less at that angle. It's 13 feet out at the moment from the x coordinate, so the distance that it is out this way is 13 feet. So let's take it up to, let's put 3 foot in it. Needs to be a little more than that. Let's put 6 feet. Well, that now looks to me like that. Like that there. Pretty similar. Similar enough there, look, there's that obscured window. The last window is, from that angle, it's hidden by the side being 6 foot further out. You can see there it's beyond these. So what I'm going to do here now is to move this one. Let's move that one. It's at 13 feet at the moment. That one is at 18 feet. So it's actually 5 foot that I've moved it. 12 foot. 18 feet. Okay, let's have a look at the curve that how much is sticking out with relation to our other photograph. Our only other photograph is this one, so it's that bit there. There. My thinking is that this sticks out here, and there's a similar bit there, but it's obscured from the angle of the photograph. It would make sense for it to be centered rather than not. Let's have a look. And look, you see, we're looking almost directly into, there's the vanishing point, there's our line of perspective going back. That's not so bad, it's tilted a little bit, but it doesn't. It's at about 5 foot, maybe it's a bit more. I'm tempted to do a little more, because what I think is happening is that these, what I must do first of all before I start mucking about with them, I'm definitely decided to go with this as a scenery item, so it'll have no attachment points. So I'll take those away and let's save that. What I'm tempted to do, these are grouped, yes. At the moment they're not centered, so if I bring that to there, let's make sure that is definitely the center. Yes it is, and that's centered, so let's center those. This is the often the thing when you're making these models and you've got so little in the way of plans or guides. Now that looks suspiciously to me like that needs to just come out a little bit more, and I think then we probably have the look of it. Yeah, although that's a single and those are 2 doubles, in fact 3 doubles in the supports, I still think that's probably right. In other words, what I'm thinking here is it's these supports are the normal supports for the viaduct, for the standardized viaduct, and so we've got a standardized one there, but this is going to overhang quite a bit, and then we go into the doubled pairs of supports, which I've taken from Pierhead Station, which I think are the same as the ones that are here, best guess. So let's move this up. The reason why this is so significant, of course, is because it's going to give us the curve of the dome of the next bit of roof. And what I'm going to basically do is use my existing roof there and just scale it up. So actually these are at 18 feet, that's 20. I think they should be at 22 feet. Let's have a look at that. And here. And see if we can get the same effect as in the photograph now that it's further out. Don't want that view, we want the perspective view. Here we are. So again, I'm looking to see if that's still going to be effective. Let's just go in a bit. There we are. It's that concealing of the narrower part of the carriage shed. It's that there that I'm working from. But I think that the height is the same. It looks the same to me, so it's just a bigger, broader piece of the carriage shed. Okay, so it means I'm going to have to really jig around with these viaduct pieces, which will... I had thought I was getting fairly close to the concluding part of this project, but no way. There's going to be another part yet. So that's 50 feet. So let's go to minus 50 feet. No, not minus 4.2, dear. Wakey wakey. Minus 50. There we are. And let's bring it in, because it's all over the place at the moment. We want it zeroed. And then, well, I think what I need to do is proportionally enlarge it. And then we'll see how that looks with regard to the other one, to see if we get the same sort of effect as here. Actually, I think what I need to do, I don't think it's taller. Yes, it is. There we are. It is taller. See, I'm talking nonsense. So I'm going to do the whole thing in proportion, rather than just stretching it horizontally across the width. Right, so let's try that first. It could be disastrous, but you know, you've got to try. So we need the width. I'm looking at the width only at the moment, not worried about the height. I think we're okay there, but that'll about do it. And I'm going to move it up onto the tops of the walls. Ooh, that's beginning to look a bit better, beginning to look right. I think that looks right. That end there. Okay, now of course, because I've done it in proportion, the length is wrong. So let's have a look and see what we've got. So that's that. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to take a copy and just stick it away, just in case. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to move it on the y-axis out of the way, so I'll make sure I'm doing the right one. And I'll do the same with that. And here, we're at, this is 100 feet, you know, so I'm going to collapse all that. That's why I made the copy, so I've still got an editable, I've still got the original extruded. And I'm going to take that back to 136, so take that back to 100. Take those to 0. So I've just knocked 72 feet off it. And that should now look more like what I'm after in the end on view. So it's that position between there and there. It's got to be. So first of all, there's the height. I think we're okay on the height. Let's have a look. I don't think anybody's going to argue, unless you've got plans and you can prove me otherwise. Don't worry about this, by the way. It's just artifacts of the, or it's an aspect of GMAT. It's just because it's got all those dreadful corrugated lines on it. Yeah, look, see, that's the curve on after that bit there, and obscuring that window there. So I'm just trying to reproduce that image. I think it's alright. So this would be the view from Grafton Street looking down onto it. I think we're there. I'm just going to check over here to see what the... Yeah, it was actually, of course, because we've got 36 feet and 100, it's 72. It's 172% of the original size. And but this one here is also showing 172, 172. So I definitely need to bring that back to 100 by resetting and then collapsing again, so it just leaves me with the editable poly. There we are. Right, okie dokie. Okie dokie, taking a pokey. Good morning, campers. It's the League of Gentlemen. Well, for this, we had, that's just blanked. So I'm going to use a copy of this. First job, as always, is take a copy. And in fact, I'm going to take another copy. All of these copies are safety, for safety. Save it. And save it as Herculaneum carriage sheds 1.2. Okay, and then up to here, and I want to increase it from 100% to 172%, so that it's the same as my roof there. And I'll move it into position. So we've put it to x equals 0. That's not 1. Why? Well, I suppose we could do x equals 0 as well, it doesn't really matter. Okay. Now the only thing here is because everything has been enlarged to 172%, the depth of the whole piece, the end piece, isn't correct. So let's take it, let's take the roof, and let's take one of the walls and hide all the rest, because this way we'll be able to position it. And first job is to get the end piece down to the correct height, correct position there. Let's zoom right in to make sure we're correct, or as correct as we're going to be. Don't think we're getting any closer to do that. No, that's about the limit of it. Okay. And let's just double check. Yeah, we've got a poly here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to banjax the way the texture is running on it at the moment. I'm going to take it out and take it to there. Zoom in. Okay. And zoom in. Take this one. Or what did we go to there? 12.11.997. It's 13 feet, isn't it? 12.11.997 for goodness. 13 feet, I think. I'm going to do the same with this one. Make sure you always keep where it's showing a minus measure, always make sure you keep that in place. Otherwise you'll be shooting across this way, across to the left, onto the positive side. And we need to take this up. Zoom right in. Make sure we're correctly positioned. We're close there. Let's have a look. And then let's introduce our other bits. and we've got the end piece. And I think that that's that bit there is pretty much how that overlap is. You see it's all crazy. I'm going to fix that in a moment. That's that bit there. And it's also going to be that bit there. So let's go in and select the face, because now we've altered the polygon without worrying about the texture. We've really got to pull it back into some sort of condition. So first of all, planar map. Okay, and then we'll stretch it out so that we're pretty similar to, I tend to just look at it from the corner so that you can see the sidewall and the amount of sort of vertical paneling, how narrow the vertical planking is, planking is there, and then just pull it out so it looks like it's more or less merged into it. There we are. And I think the rest of the stuff doesn't really matter. I don't think I really did the inside of that entrance here, so that'll be something I'll need to do. I need to go back. So if I was to go into this one, and you'll see it's like got crazy image there. What I could do, just show that, planar map it, and to make it exactly the same as the other side, all I do is with those selected ones, I just drag them out till they overlap like that, and that means the inside is the same as the outside, as near as, damn it. And if I then do the same with this one while I'm thinking about it, and the face we want is on the inside, so Gmax thinking about things, and let's just check, see if we've got, yes, you can see it's just occupying the whole of the texture. It's like planar map. So let's reveal the other sides which haven't been planar mapped. There we go, close enough. And we've still not finished with that end, because the next thing to do, well actually with this end, is to, I think I've got it, this is a poly, isn't it, or is it, yeah, it's a poly, so it doesn't really make much odds. So let's copy that one, clone it again. Cloning is really handy. Once you've got some basic shapes sorted out, you can clone away, what am I thinking of doing here? You can clone away and multiple copies of your basic meshes can be really, then make it look really good. Now I've got two windows to go in at the end here, so although I've got this, I'm going to have to make another, or will I? Oh, I wait, what I can do, because I've been crafty. I've kept this as an editable spline, so I'm going to delete that because I don't need it. I don't need that because we've got the roof. I'm going to take this, I'm going to make another copy. Never have too many copies. Okay, and on the extrusion, which is 100 feet at the moment, I'm going to take it down to 2 inches, just for the moment. In fact, I'm not even going to do that, I'm going to delete the extrusion completely. There we are, and just center that up. And what I need to do is to have that, and there, that piece, and that. Hide the rest. Save it. Keep saving. Okay, so we've got that centered on the y coordinate, so let's move that over. So let's move it over. There we are. Let's look at end on where it'll just stack up. It'll just be stacked one on top of the other. Okay. Now, I'm not sure about this with splines. Can you just enlarge them? I'm trying to remember if I've ever done this. Let's try this. It needs to be 172. And let's colour it different. That's the splines. Let's give it a different colour so we know which is which. Actually looks right. Amazing. Actually got it right. Let's bring that down. Zoom in so we can see we're getting into the right position. When you come in close and select one of these things in Gmax, I found that it tends to jump about a bit, but you get the feel of it. That's about all I can say for that. Okay, so let's have a look here. What I can do is, first of all, I can take away some of the vertices that I don't need. I won't need that one. I won't need that one. And I won't need that one or that one. Okay, so that gives me my blank bit there. Let's just have a look at I'm just using this one as a guide. So let's have a look at the vertices there, the height. 23,449. $23.449, and the same on this one. 23.449. Okay, so that gives us the beginnings of our end wall, but it's in the wrong place as far as I'm concerned at the moment. It's too close to, or it'll be buried inside the center point of the mesh. So let's move it right down here. Let's have a look at everything. And what I need to do here is pick up two windows, which I'm going to do now by taking one of the sides and just cloning it. It's a group, so I'm going to ungroup it, and I'm going to delete the sides and the glass and all but two of the windows, and I shall group those two together and then rotate them 90 degrees. I'm looking down on the bottom taskbar now. Okay, and then with those selected, hide the rest. Let's see where we look. Not too bad, not too bad at all, I think. How far down are they? They look a little bit higher than where I've got them, but I'm going to live with that. And this is a group, so I can move it over. So I'm going to retain the same, make sure that's 0, the same distance between the windows as I've got on the side. So they're perhaps a little bit lower and a little bit more in than the ends of the in the photograph here. If we have a look there, you can see, but I think we're close enough. I really do. And now I don't need this, because if we have a look in the perspective view, you'll see the bit that I've selected. We don't need that because I was just using it as basically as a pivot position piece. But I'll leave it in the moment, because when I come to texture this, that's going to be important. Now the other thing I've got to do is something which is a bit irritating, but which I should have thought of when I was doing the sides. I should have kept the sides, a copy of the sides available as a spline, and so I'm looking for splines here and a rectangle, and I'm going to just make a rectangle there, not worry about the size at the moment. And I'm going to make sure because it's over here at the moment, so I want it in line with this, because I will join it with this, and there we are, and it will, oh, for goodness sake, hit the wrong button, X, Y, Z, OK, not cancel, you can see where I'm going with this now, because this is going to be our window frame. So let's get it positioned. That's a group at the moment, so we can ungroup that, which gives us two separate groups here, and I can position it here, X, Y, Z, there we are. Okay, and the size, I can't remember the size of the windows. Was it 6 foot? No, it must have been 5 foot something. 9, 10. Looks like an extra ½ inch either side there. That's not right. And I can tell it's not right because I can actually see there's a bit of a... So maybe it was 9.75. Why did I ever do that? It must have been... No, it must have been 9.5. Are we there yet? I don't think we are. It's 9.25. Hearing me. I'm not even convinced it's that, but that's close enough. It doesn't really matter. And the height, I think, is 4 foot. Nope. Maybe 3 foot. 3 foot 8. Too much. 3 foot 10. Yes, that's close enough. Just make sure it's centered, and make sure that center is on the center there. Yeah, that's fine. So now I'm just going to clone that. Edit, clone. I'm doing it like this rather than holding down Shift key and dragging, because what I want to do now is just send it across to the other side, which is going to be over there. Now you'll see, hopefully, although I have positioned them, lined them up on the wrong piece, I now need to move it back to the Y position. Okay, and I need to pick up the frame there, move it back to the Y position, and why not? Let's give this another colour, and then attach. Where are we? Attach that one, which changes colour when it's attached, and that one. Okay, and now we extrude, and we've got our window frames there, and we've got 2 inches wide, which I think is correct for that. Can't remember how much that was extruded. Can't tell anyway because it's already been reduced. Well, let's move it. Let's move it back a bit and see, have a look at it. Yeah, it looks the same to me. I think I did 2, 4, 6, didn't I? Was the I did those. So let's have a look. Yep, that's the same. Okay, right. So having made our end wall, we now need to texture it with our old vertical planking, and the vertical planking is going to need to be changed for the to match this. Oof. So we're gonna whenever you see that and you know you've got to use reset X form, let the old alarm bells ring, make a copy, and then do the reset X form. Okay, and collapse the lot, and let's select the face. There we are. It's nice and properly proportioned, and let's planar that. So it looks like it already is. Yes. Let's zoom out. Basically, we're going to sort of guess the same as this one, and I need to come out just horizontally. You can always change it. You can always change it once you've got it in position, but I think that's probably good. Just do the back. Planar. And then for this one I turn it, reveal all of the polys. So I can just do it over the previous one. There we are. And of course, like other pieces here, I can now lose quite a few of the polys. So let's do that. and excuse me, go into wireframe and come in a bit. Now as the window frames of those other bits over here are going to obscure these, I can lose these as well. So let's collapse all of that down. We're down to 20 at the moment. This is going to be like the sides. I'm going to reduce it to 2. Polys, not vertices. So I'm taking away unnecessary faces because they're obscured by other bits of the model, other meshes within the model, which conceal what are essentially just sort of blank areas, holes. I suppose is the technical term. Here we are. How are we doing? We're down to 9, so we've got more to lose yet. See, we're still on 9,540 polys altogether, which is a lot of polys. Pretty polys. And there's going to be more to come yet. So I suspect this scenery item is going to get split into at least a couple of parts in the same way that I split the junction at Herculaneum. Here we are, we're down to 2. Okay, good. So we don't need, let's have another look. We don't need that one because it's wrong. We don't need that one because we've already got this. Let's save it again. And let's save another version. We've got version 1.2 there, so let's save it as Herculaneum carriage sheds 1.1. Make sure you get the right one because I've made a mess before now. Oh, such a mess. I'm getting the saving the right ones and don't even know. It's a nightmare. So now we've got this centered, so we can just center it here on the y-axis. Okay. The y-axis, and then we've one more job to do, which is to put some glass in, and I'm going to do what I did before, which is to make a 1-inch thick rectangular box, a standard primitive box, just to make sure it's covering the windows, and it's 9 inches thick at the moment, so I'm going to reduce that to 1, and it's 16 foot. Well, it does make a heap of the difference, but I tend to tidy these up, take out all those odd amounts. It doesn't make a heap of the difference. Make sure it's centered. Okay, and it's not going to be, there it is over there, so I'm going to just well, before I do anything to it, before I turn it into glass, use it to glaze the windows, I'm going to reduce it to a poly, and I'm going to eliminate unnecessary polygons, in other words the edges, because they're all concealed within the overall mesh. There we are. So let's have a look there and take that one out and that one out, and we're still left with 2 faces. There we are. And put the glass in, glaze it, make sure it's glazed okay. I tend to reduce this from edge to edge. There we are. Sometimes you get it's not consistent, I found. Sometimes in TANE or TRS-19 or TS-12, I'm just going to move this into position here. Yeah, okay. Let's select that object and we'll position center it there. Y. There we are. And that's the glass in place. And I showed you before that you can just about make out that there is glass in there. You can see the difference between the colour there and the colour there. And the next thing I want to do is to group all of that together. Yeah, I found that sometimes I get a fault, an error coming up that the glass texture which I use is a uniform colour, and that isn't allowed. And if you do get that, then the easiest way of dealing with it is just to add a single pixel top left, or top right, or any way you like, but away at the edges of the texture, and that will conceal the and then just change that 1 pixel, darken it, lighten it, whatever, and that solves the problem, because you've got a multicolour texture then. Now I'm just taking out the edge of the roof because I don't need it. I wasn't sure if I would need it or not. There we are. So there's the situation now. We're well on our way. What else can I get? Well, I don't need that anymore. I'm finished there, so I can delete that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it as Herculaneum Sheds version 2.1, and that means that I've still got some bits and pieces back in the version 1. So if we look here, Herculaneum carriage sheds, I've now got 3 files there. In fact, I'm going to make a 4th one. 2 copies. Every time 2 copies. There we are. Right. Okay, so that's the carriage sheds. Actually, the sheds themselves are finished, but of course you've got some big holes here. Can't see the Liverpool Overhead Railway staff being very appreciative of that. We've got that there, of course. If we look here, let's take the grid out just to show you all that needs to be done. So, and this is what I'll be doing in part 5. I need to slice the viaduct again. I've already done it once. I'm glad I didn't bother retexturing it, and I've got to move that viaduct out to the full width at both sides, and also create an end piece to put in there, which is not a lot to do actually. So part 5 might be quite a short piece. Maybe even I'll be able to export it. I'll show you how I'll export it. That'd be useful, wouldn't it? I'll show you how I export it and put it into Trainz, and we can have a look at it in Trainz with some rolling stock in place. So that'd be quite good. But again, we've got 9372 and more to come. 9372, because although I'm going to splitting the viaduct there won't increase it. The viaduct size won't. That's only a box, but there are lots of and there are lots of little bits to move. But I will have to do an end piece as well. So we're going to be up to not far off the 10,000. So I'm definitely going to have to split this up. Maybe the base, that piece there, and then the large piece there. But I think we're beginning to get there. I think I'm getting close now to the look of the photograph. Let's go back one. Yeah. Be nice to see some rolling stock in place. It does look a little wide, looking at it there. That overall look compared with that is looks just a slight extra width. If you've been following this and paying attention, and I'll let you into a secret, it's because when Bob and I first started doing this, we experimented with the viaduct. I had scale plans from the Engineer magazine from the 1893, and I was carefully following those for the viaduct. And when we started running the rolling stock, for whatever reason, we found it was too narrow. So in fact, the viaduct is about 2 foot wider than the scale plan, and we found that worked just by widening it that fraction. So that of course will affect the geometry of all of these items, like this carriage shed and so on. But nevertheless, it's only a minor adjustment, and it certainly keeps the look of it, and we're working on the basis of if it looks right, it is right. And there we are then. So that's the 4th part of making the carriage shed for the Liverpool Overhead Railway, which stood at Herculaneum Dock. Let's have another look at it. Don't think we've got any other pictures. No, it's away. It's over here. I don't think I've got this. That's the bridge at Herculaneum going into the tunnel at Dingle. I don't think I've got any others. It's one of the most elusive structures to try and find. images, and this one are the ones that appear in the books, and indeed a brief glance from the side in my third part video showed from the cab of a train just leaving the bridge and just beginning to come around the corner, and of course just at the moment when I desperately needed it to give the to show the detail, there was an edit, and that's Herculaneum. That's all Herculaneum. Now we're on to Dock Stith Way. No, Huskisson. Oh, more to do. Okay, just while I've just as an addendum, as it were, to this, after this particular model, my next model, I'm going to attempt to start getting sorted out. Look at that, isn't that lovely? Beautiful picture. And this is of Seaforth Sands station. Definitely a tongue twister. And look at those lovely stairs. My goodness, I think this is where they had the first experimental escalators, though they didn't last. So there's stairs, and they'll be done in the same way as I've done the pier head. And this is the far end of Seaforth Sands, looking towards Aintree, Seaforth and Litherland. This is the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway coming up on the side here. And again, and here you can see some interesting point work coming into Seaforth Sands, because coming into Seaforth Sands from that's the crossover from Seaforth and Litherland. That's the original Seaforth Sands station, which I'm not going to be modelling, because this is what replaced it, the carriage sheds. And here is Seaforth Sands, and you're on it's a real S shape, backwards S. So that's going to be interesting, making that curving platform. Here it is. This is off to the carriage sheds. This is coming out of Seaforth Sands. Look at this. Look at all these lovely ships and cranes and warehouses. Beautiful. This is why I love this project, because of the sheer amount of docks. So this is all still Seaforth Sands. That's looking from the Litherland direction. The carriage shed is over here. There it is. We've got some shots of that. It was special in the last days. There's the signal box. And there we are now coming. It says Seaforth signal box. It's actually Seaforth and Litherland. There's the South Docks. Oh, well, there you are. Look. Okay, so the Seaforth Sands is going to be my next project. The station first, and then the carriage sheds, and then this junction, I think, and it will all have to fit together with some fixed track elements, I think, in order to maintain that geometry, which is really quite severe. So that concludes this fourth part of making the carriage sheds for the Liverpool Overhead Railway. An amazing project which Bob and I are now firmly committed on and thoroughly enjoying. And so if you have any questions, any queries, any comments, please do post them and I'll aim to answer them. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel, ING for Trainz, on YouTube.